My husband said, she's just my trainer. Then she texted me, ask him what he said about you. I read the messages and drove straight to her apartment. I didn't go there planning to destroy my marriage. That sounds like a lie now because everything that happened after makes me look cold. Maybe even cruel. But when I pulled into that apartment lot in Riverside, my hands were shaking so badly I could barely put the car in park. I sat there with my phone in my lap, staring at the message. Ask him what he said about you. 5 minutes earlier, I still thought my husband's affair was simple in the ugliest way. He cheated. He lied. He got caught. We either fixed it or we didn't. But that message made it bigger. Because Scott hadn't just slept with another woman. He had turned me into a story so he could feel less guilty about betraying me. Scott and I lived in Madison, in a rented townhouse with thin walls, old carpet, and a kitchen cabinet that never closed unless you hit it with your hip. It wasn't perfect, but it was ours. We bought the couch together. We argued over curtains. We painted the bedroom a color that looked soft gray in the store and weirdly blue on the wall. That is what people don't understand when they say, just leave. They act like betrayal is one clean cut. They don't understand how many normal things become painful after. The coffee mugs. The couch. The dent in the wall from moving furniture. The life you built before you knew someone was quietly ruining it. Scott started acting different after he joined a fitness studio across town. At first, I was happy for him. He had been stressed and irritable for months, and when he said he wanted to feel better about himself, I believed him. I even encouraged it. I said, go. Seriously. It might help. For the first few weeks, it did. He came home tired but lighter. He slept better. He bought new running shoes and started making vanilla protein shakes that smelled like cake batter and chemicals. Then the little things started. He stopped leaving his phone on the coffee table. He took it into the bathroom when he showered. He turned the screen face down when he sat beside me. He smiled at messages, then locked the phone when I looked over. Nothing obvious. Just enough to make me feel stupid for noticing. One night, we were watching a movie when his phone lit up near his leg. I saw the name Heather before he grabbed it. I asked, who's Heather? He looked at the TV too quickly. She's from the studio. What studio? The fitness studio. She works there. I waited. He added, she's just my trainer. That word just sat wrong with me. I said, why did you snatch your phone? He laughed, but it wasn't kind. Are we doing this already? Doing what? You getting weird because I know a woman? I should have pushed harder. Instead, I backed off because I didn't want to be the insecure wife. The jealous wife. The wife who turned every female name into a fight. So I said, I just asked. He kissed my forehead. You're making it something it isn't. For weeks, I tried to believe him. When his phone buzzed, I looked away. When he came home late, I told myself traffic was bad. When he started wearing cologne to the gym, I told myself he was just feeling better. Then he started comparing me to her without saying her name. Someone at the studio said meal prep helps. Someone at the studio said sleep matters more than people think. Someone at the studio said I should stop eating takeout. It was always someone. Never Heather. Unless I asked. One night, while I was rinsing dishes, he said, some people actually support their partners when they're trying to improve. I turned off the faucet. What is that supposed to mean? Nothing. No. Say it. He sighed like I was exhausting him. You always act annoyed when I talk about the gym. I act annoyed when you compare me to people without saying their names. He locked his phone. There it is. There what is? You're jealous of Heather. I gripped the edge of the sink. I'm not jealous of Heather. I don't even know Heather. Exactly. You don't know her. But apparently you do. He stared at me, then shook his head. You hear yourself? That was how he did it. He didn't scream. He didn't call me crazy directly. He just said things softly enough that I started questioning my own tone. By the end of that conversation, I was the one apologizing. The truth came out because Scott was careless. Not because I planned anything. One Saturday morning, he left his laptop open on the kitchen table while he went upstairs to shower. I walked past it with a mug in my hand when a notification slid across the screen. Heather. The message said, last night was a mistake, but I can't stop thinking about it. I stood there until the words blurred. I know people say not to snoop. I know. But when the truth appears in front of you and your whole body goes cold, your hands move before your morals catch up. I clicked. There were weeks of messages. Flirting. Compliments. Jokes. Complaints about me. He told her she understood him in a way I didn't anymore. He told her our marriage felt dead. He told her I made him feel unwanted. He told her I mocked his body before he started working out. I read that line 3 times. I had never mocked his body. Not once. I had loved him through weight gain, stress, sadness, laziness, motivation, all of it. I was tired sometimes. I wasn't perfect. But I never made him feel disgusting. Then the messages changed. A lot of we shouldn't. A lot of I know. A lot of I feel terrible. A lot of pretending guilt made them decent. They had slept together twice. At least, that was what the messages said. When Scott came downstairs, I was sitting at the kitchen table with his laptop open. He stopped in the doorway. Julie. I looked at him and asked, how long? His face folded before he answered, and that made me angrier than anything. His guilt was ready before my grief even had time to arrive. It happened twice. Only twice. Yes. Do you think I'm asking because twice is better? He rubbed his face. I want to be honest. I almost laughed. Now, he cried. Real tears. The kind that used to soften me immediately. That morning, they did nothing. He said he was sorry. He said he didn't know how it happened. He said he felt invisible. He said it wasn't about me, but somehow everything still circled back to me. I was distant. I was tired. I didn't make him feel wanted. He kept saying, that's not an excuse, right after giving another excuse. I asked, do you love her? No. Too fast. I said, look at me and answer again. He swallowed. No. I don't love her. Then why risk our marriage for her? He had no answer. That silence told me more than anything else. I asked him to leave for the night. He stayed with his friend, and I sat on the bathroom floor calling my sister in Tacoma because I didn't know how to breathe. Brenda said, don't decide anything tonight. I said, I think I want him to come home. She got quiet, then said, that doesn't make you weak. I needed to hear that. Because part of me did want him home. That's the shameful part nobody prepares you for. Betrayal doesn't always kill love right away. Sometimes love stays like an idiot, holding a candle in a burned-down house. Scott came back the next day looking wrecked. He said, I'll do anything. I wanted to scream, you should have done anything before. Instead, I said, give me your phone. He did. No argument. He blocked Heather. He canceled his gym membership. He gave me passwords. He offered counseling. He slept in the guest room. He texted me from work to prove where he was. He acted like transparency was a gift. But all I could think was, this is who you should have been when I first asked. For 2 weeks, we lived like strangers, trying not to touch the broken glass between us. He made coffee I didn't drink. He asked if I had eaten. I said yes even when I hadn't. At night, I stared at the ceiling and hated myself because sometimes I missed him. Then Heather messaged me. It came from an account with no profile picture. I know you probably hate me. You should. But he lied to me too. I should have blocked her. Instead, I typed, what do you want? She wrote, to say I'm sorry. I laughed out loud in my car outside a grocery store. It was an ugly laugh. I asked, did you know he was married? There was a pause. Then she wrote, yes. But he told me it was basically over. Of course he did. I wrote, that's convenient. She replied, I know. I'm not defending it. Then she sent the message that changed everything. He said you laughed at his body. He said you barely talked to him. He said you only stayed because it was easier than leaving. Ask him what he said about you. I sat there with grocery bags in the back seat and felt something inside me go still. The sex hurt. The lies about me hurt worse. Because he didn't just cheat. He needed her to believe I was cold and cruel first. He had to make me ugly so he could touch her and still feel like the wounded one. I went home and found Scott in the kitchen making pasta. He looked up carefully. Hey, I made dinner. I stood in the doorway with my phone in my hand. Did you tell her I laughed at your body? His face changed. What? Did you tell Heather I mocked you? He turned off the stove. Julie, I said things when I was in a bad place. That's not what I asked. I don't remember exactly what I said. You remembered enough to make me sound cruel. He looked tired. Not sorry. Tired. I was trying to explain why I felt disconnected. No. You were trying to make cheating on me sound understandable. That's not fair. I laughed. Not fair. He closed his eyes. I'm trying here. You lied about me. I know. I'm sorry. You didn't just cheat. You recruited her against me. His eyes opened. That's dramatic. There it was. That familiar tone. The one that made me feel like my reaction was the problem. I said, don't do that. Do what? Make me feel crazy because I'm reacting to something you did. He didn't answer. I went upstairs, locked myself in the bathroom, and read every screenshot Heather sent me. Scott telling her I was cold. Scott telling her our marriage was dead. Scott telling her I would never leave because I was too comfortable. Scott telling her she made him feel like a man again. Some tiny pieces were close enough to truth to hurt. We had been distant. We had fallen into routines. I had been tired. But he had taken normal marriage problems and turned them into permission. Heather wrote, I think he used both of us. I wanted to hate that sentence. Instead, I hated that it made sense. Then she wrote, I don't think he deserves either of us. I stared at the screen. I replied, don't pretend we're on the same side. She wrote, we're not. But he put us in the same story. For 3 days, we messaged. Not like friends. Not like anything clean. More like two people standing on opposite sides of the same wreck, pointing at pieces. She told me what he had said. I told her what he had hidden. Every message made him smaller and the situation uglier. On the third night, Scott was asleep in the guest room. I sat in the kitchen with the lights off while my phone battery turned red. Heather wrote, "I'm sorry. I wish I could say it to your face. I should have stopped there." Instead, I wrote, "Then say it." She sent her address in Riverside. I told myself I was going there for answers. I told myself I needed closure. Both were almost true. But underneath that was something uglier. I wanted to take something back. Scott didn't wake up when I left. I drove 25 minutes in silence, gripping the steering wheel so hard my fingers hurt. When I pulled into the apartment lot, I almost turned around. Then my phone buzzed. Heather wrote, "Are you here?" I looked up at the second floor window with one lamp on. I replied, "Yes." She opened the building door before I knocked. She looked different than I expected. That bothered me. I wanted her to look like a fantasy. I wanted perfect hair, smug eyes, some obvious reason Scott risked our life together. Instead, she looked tired. Human. Hair tied back. Sweatpants. No makeup. She said, "Julie." I hated hearing my name in her voice. "Don't say it like you know me." She nodded. "Okay." We stood there in the hallway until she stepped aside. "You can come in, or we can talk out here." I should have stayed in the hall. I walked inside. Her apartment was normal. Gray couch. Small kitchen. Candle on the counter. Shoes by the door. I wanted everything about her life to look guilty. She said, "Do you want water?" I looked at her. She closed her mouth. "Sorry. Stupid question." I said, "Why did you message me?" She leaned against the counter, keeping distance between us. "Because he blocked me after you found out, and I realized he was going to go back to you and act like I was just some mistake." "You were." She took it. "I know. No. You don't get to say that calmly. You're right. Did you enjoy it? Thinking you were better than me?" She shook her head. "I didn't think I was better. Don't lie. I'm not. You knew about me." "Yes. You slept with him anyway." "Yes. And you believed everything he said because it made you feel special." Her face tightened. "Yes." That stopped me. I expected excuses. I expected her to say he pursued her or she was confused or their connection was different. But she just admitted it. "I liked being chosen," she said. Even if it was wrong. I didn't know where to put my anger when she wouldn't fight me for it. I asked, "What did he say after?" "After what?" "After he went home to me." She looked away. "That was enough." "Tell me." She said, "He said he felt guilty. He said you looked at him that morning like you knew. He said he couldn't lose his life over one mistake." His life. Not me. His life. The townhouse. The routine. The comfort. The wife waiting in the kitchen pretending not to notice cracks. I sat on the edge of her couch because my legs felt weak. Heather stayed by the counter. After a while, I said, "I wanted you to be awful." She gave a small, sad smile. "I am awful." "No. I mean obviously awful. Easier to hate." "I know." For 2 hours, we talked. About Scott. About his lies. About how he made himself sound wounded so other people would forgive him before he even admitted what he had done. At some point, I stopped crying. At some point, she did. At some point, the anger changed shape. I won't pretend it was romantic. It wasn't empowering. It wasn't clean. It was grief with teeth. It was humiliation looking for somewhere to go. Heather said quietly, "I don't think he deserves either of us." I looked at her, and something ugly in me answered before the decent part could stop it. "Then maybe he shouldn't have either of us." Then I kissed her. I kissed the woman my husband cheated with. And the worst part is, for 1 second, I didn't feel powerless. I woke up the next morning in Heather's apartment with sunlight through the blinds and shame sitting on my chest. For a few seconds, I didn't know where I was. Then I saw the gray couch. The candle. Her sweatshirt on the floor. And I remembered. Heather was awake beside me, staring at the ceiling. Neither of us spoke. Finally, she whispered, "Julie." I closed my eyes. "Don't. I'm sorry." "Don't say sorry again." I grabbed my phone from the coffee table. 7 missed calls from Scott. 3 texts. "Where are you?" "Julie, answer me. Please don't do this." That last one almost made me laugh. As if I was the one who opened the door to all of this. Heather sat up, holding the blanket against her. "What are you going to tell him?" "The truth." "You don't have to." I looked at her. "Yes, I do." "Why?" "Because I wanted him to bleed." That was the honest answer. But I didn't say it. I said, "Because I'm tired of being the only one who doesn't get to know what happened." I left without saying goodbye. The drive back to Madison felt longer than it was. My phone kept lighting up in the passenger seat, but I didn't touch it. When I walked into the townhouse, Scott was waiting in the kitchen. His hair was messy. His eyes were red. The coffee maker was on. That bothered me. The world had ended, and he had made coffee. He stood up. "Where were you?" I set my purse on the counter. "Heather's." The room went still. "What?" "I went to Heather's apartment." His face went pale. "Why?" "You know why." Please tell me you didn't do something stupid. There it was. Not, are you okay? Not, what happened? Not, I'm sorry I pushed you this far. Something stupid. I said, I slept with her. The mug in his hand slipped, but he caught it before it hit the counter. For 1 second, I noticed how careful he was with the mug. Like something still deserved protection. He stared at me like I had turned into a stranger. Then he said, what the hell is wrong with you? I laughed. It came out empty and sharp. That's funny. I asked myself the same thing when I read your messages. You slept with Heather? Yes. My Heather. The words left his mouth before he could stop them. My Heather. I tilted my head. Your Heather. His face changed. I didn't mean that. Yes, you did. No, I meant. You meant the woman you told me was just your trainer. The woman you blocked so you could come home and play sorry husband. That Heather. He slammed the mug down hard enough to spill coffee. This is different. Of course it is. It is. Because you did it first by accident, and I did it after you gave me a reason? His jaw tightened. You did it to hurt me. I didn't deny it. Yes. He looked sick. I did it to hurt you. How could you? Something cold moved through me. How could I? He looked away. I stepped closer. You lied to my face for weeks. You made me apologize for noticing. You told another woman our marriage was dead while still sleeping beside me. You said I made you feel disgusting. You made her hate me so you could feel better about touching her. He whispered. I was confused. No. You were selfish. You think what you did is better? No. That stopped him. I said, it might be worse in some ways. His face twisted. Then why? Because I wanted you to feel even one piece of what I felt. Because I wanted 1 second where you weren't the only person in this marriage who got to break something and cry about it afterward. He rubbed both hands over his face. This is insane. I know. You ruined any chance of fixing this. There it was. His affair had been something we could fix. My revenge was the thing that ruined us. I said, so when you cheated, that was a mistake. When I did it, that was destruction. He looked at me with tears on his face. You knew what it would do to me. Yes. At least I didn't do it to punish you. That hurt because part of it was true. Scott cheated because he wanted Heather. Because she made him feel admired. Because he liked being desired and pitted at the same time. I slept with Heather because I wanted to hurt him. There was no soft excuse. I said, you're right. He blinked. I did it to punish you. I did it because I wanted you to know what it felt like to have your body turned into evidence in someone else's story. He whispered, are you proud of yourself? No. Then why are you acting like you are? I'm not proud. I'm just not sorry enough to comfort you. That was the sentence that finally broke him. Because even then, he wanted me to hold the pain he caused and the pain I gave back. I couldn't. He packed a bag that afternoon. Before he left, he stopped near the stairs and said, I don't know who you are. I looked at him. I think that makes 2 of us. After he left, I sat at the kitchen table until the house got dark. I thought I would feel powerful. I didn't. I felt empty. The first person I called was Rachel. When I told her everything, she was quiet for a long time. Then she said, do you want me to lie to you? I wiped my face. No. What he did was awful. What you did was also awful. I know. But I'm not going to pretend this started with you. That made me cry harder than judgment would have. She told me to come stay with her for a few days. I packed a bag that night. Clothes, chargers, work shoes, and the small framed photo of my grandmother from the hallway table. Before I left, I stopped by the blue armchair near the window. It was mine. I bought it before Scott and I got married. He always said it was ugly, but I loved it. I touched the back of it and almost fell apart. Then I left it there. For the next week, I stayed above Rachel's flower shop. Her apartment smelled like roses, soil, and old wood. She didn't force me to talk. She made tea I didn't drink and left food near me without making it a big thing. Brenda called every night from Tacoma. When I told her what I did, she said, oh, Julie. Not angry. Just sad. I said, say it. Say what? That I lowered myself. She sighed. I think you were already on the floor and you grabbed the first weapon you could reach. That's not better. No. But it's different. Scott started texting constantly. First angry. I can't believe you did this. You made sure we could never come back. Then sad. I miss you. I hate this. Then strange. Did she mean anything to you? Was she better? Did you talk about me after? Now he wanted details. Now he wanted to understand the room he wasn't in. Now he wanted to know what betrayal felt like from the outside. I didn't answer. Heather messaged me once more. I'm not contacting you again. I blocked him everywhere. I'm leaving the studio. I don't expect forgiveness. I think we all used each other, but I'm sorry for my part. I read it twice. Then I deleted it and blocked her. Not because I hated her. Because if I didn't, some wounded part of me might keep reaching for the only person who understood the exact wreckage Scott made. And that was dangerous. 2 weeks later, Scott started telling people. Not the whole story. Just enough to make me sound insane. He told mutual friends I had an affair with a woman from his gym. Technically true. That was the worst part. A lie would have been easier to fight. This was truth with its bones rearranged. When people asked me, I stopped explaining in detail. I said, Scott cheated first, lied about me, and I reacted badly. Believe whatever version helps you sleep. Some people disappeared. Some stayed. The ones who stayed didn't all approve of me, but they didn't pretend Scott was innocent just because my reaction was ugly. My mother was harder. She called after Scott reached out to her. She said, I'm not defending him. That always means someone is about to defend him. What he did was wrong, she said. Very wrong. But what you did, honey, that's not you. I looked around Rachel's tiny kitchen. Maybe it is now. No, don't say that. You don't want to become bitter. I laughed quietly. Mom, I became bitter somewhere between the first lie and the second time he slept with her. She asked, do you still love him? I hated that answer because yes, some part of me did. Not the part that trusted him. Not the part that wanted to grow old with him. But the part that remembered who he was before this. Memories don't die just because someone betrays you. I said, love isn't enough if I don't feel safe. A month later, I moved into my own apartment in Madison. Small bedroom. Weird kitchen layout. Loud neighbors. A window facing another building. But the first night I slept there, no one lied beside me. That felt like luxury. I went back to the townhouse once to get the rest of my things. Scott was there. He looked thinner. Older. The house smelled like dust and takeout. We moved through the rooms like ghosts dividing a life. Plates. Books. Towels. The framed print from the hallway. The blue armchair. When we got to it, Scott touched the arm. You always loved this ugly thing. I almost smiled. Yeah, take it. I was going to. 2 movers came later that afternoon. One of them asked where the chair was going and I said, my new place. My new place. The words felt strange, but good. Before I left, Scott asked, can we talk? I should have said no. But I was tired of being afraid of every conversation. So I said, 5 minutes. We sat at the kitchen table where I had found the messages. He looked at his hands. I keep thinking about what you said. Which part? That I made her hate you. I didn't answer. He swallowed. I did. I told myself I was venting, but I knew what I was doing. I needed someone to think I wasn't the bad guy. That was the first apology that felt real. Not because it fixed anything. Because it didn't ask me to comfort him. He said, I'm sorry I lied about you. I looked at him for a long moment. That hurt worse than the cheating. His eyes filled. I know that now. No, you don't. But maybe you know more than you did. He nodded. Then he said, I'm sorry you felt like you had to hurt me back. I shook my head. Don't do that. What? Don't make my choice sound like something you forced me to do. You opened the door. I still walked through it. He looked surprised. I said, I'm responsible for what I did. I won't let you use it to erase what you did, and I won't use what you did to pretend I was innocent. For once, neither of us argued. That was how I knew we were done. Not because we were screaming. Because there was nothing left to win. Scott asked if I would go to counseling with him for closure. I said no. Closure is what I'm building alone now. The divorce was quieter than people imagine. We didn't have children. We didn't own the townhouse. We split what needed splitting, signed what needed signing, and let the lease end. Heather left the studio. I heard that from someone else. I don't know where she went, and I try not to wonder. Some people enter your life like a match in a dark room. For 1 second, everything is visible. Then the fire burns your hand. Rachel is still my emergency contact. Brenda still calls every Sunday. My mother stopped asking if I regret leaving. Sometimes I regret what I did. There are nights when the apartment is too quiet and my mind replays everything. The laptop notification. The parking lot. Heather's door opening. Scott's face when I told him. Sometimes I feel ashamed. Not because I think Scott deserved gentleness. I don't know if he did. I feel ashamed because I crossed a line inside myself, and even if I can explain why, I still have to live with the fact that I was capable of it. But other nights, I sit in my blue armchair by the window, drinking coffee from a mug Scott hated, and I feel something close to peace. Not happiness yet. Not victory like in movies. Just peace. Nobody is turning their phone face down beside me. Nobody is telling another woman I am cold and cruel so he can feel less guilty. Nobody is touching me with hands that still carry a lie. I am alone, but I am not being slowly erased. That matters. A few weeks ago, Scott emailed me. He said he hoped one day we could forgive each other. He said he was working on himself. He said he understood now that he destroyed my trust before I ever destroyed his. I read it twice. Then I archived it. Not because I hated him. Because answering would have dragged me back into a room I had already left. My calm victory is not that Scott suffered. It is not that Heather disappeared. My victory is smaller. I wake up now and know exactly where I stand. I know I was betrayed. I know I retaliated. I know I am not innocent. I also know I am not the only villain in a story Scott started writing before I even knew I was a character in it. Maybe that is what bothers people most. They want betrayed wives to be clean. Wounded but graceful. Angry but not too angry. Strong but not ugly. I was not graceful. I was furious. I was humiliated. I made a choice that split the room. Some people think I became worse than him. Some people think he deserved to feel it. Some people think once both people betray each other, nobody gets the high ground anymore. Maybe they are all right in different ways. All I know is this. Scott cheated because he wanted to feel wanted. I slept with the woman he cheated with because I wanted him to feel ruined. Neither reason is noble. But only one of us had to be lied to first. So I guess I'm still asking, even now. Was I wrong for crossing that line with the woman my husband cheated with, or did I just become the consequence he never thought would look him in the face?